Hello, Paul.
Hello.
How is it going?
Good.
As for me, it's okay. So, I wanted to do all of this, to make all this interview outside, somewhere in the park. Mm-hmm. But as you can see, our weather is a little bit crazy today. Yeah.
It's snowing.
It's snowing. It's actually snowing right now outside.
I understand that's supposed to be good luck on your birthday.
By the way, before speaking and asking questions, I just want to mention the fact that today is we are shooting on the 17th of May, and it's Paul's birthday. So I want to congratulate you on this day.
Thank you.
We've got the best wishes for you. Let your dreams come true. And also just, I'm going to say 3 main words, keep it real.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, and by the way, tell me please, where and how do you usually celebrate your birthday?
Last time I really celebrated my birthday was here in Chita with my friends. Okay. Back in Texas, I usually don't. It's just another day on the calendar.
Oh, you don't celebrate it? Why?
Friends have other things to do.
Okay. And how did you celebrate it last year? It was here in Chita?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Okay.
Yes, with my friends from DLPZ, the volunteer group here in Chita. We spent the night at Shashlikov with a lot of shashlik and beer and vodka shots.
Okay.
It was a great time.
A great time. Okay. By the way, how old are you?
41 today.
41 today. Okay, great. So you celebrated your 39th birthday here.
Yes.
Okay. So as for our local citizens, they have already know about you from the TV plots and also from the articles on the internet. Mm-hmm. But just tell briefly about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm from Texas. Right now I live south of Austin, Texas, about half an hour. I've grown up all over the U.S., Atlanta, Chicago, Detroit, outside Philadelphia, and a little mining town out there. And then I finished my school years in Austin, and then went into the Navy and spent some time just traveling around the U.S.
And now you are living in Austin?
Just south of Austin, about half an hour south.
Okay. And tell me, why are you here in Chita? Okay. Have you ever been to other Russian cities, and why has Chita conquered your heart? Okay.
I have been to other Russian cities. I've been to Moscow, briefly in St. Petersburg. Been to Ulan-Ude, Selengensk. This year I went just out to a village just outside Toldom, by Moscow. But none of them compare to Chita. For me, Chita reminds me...
St. Petersburg is a very beautiful city.
Too much concrete, too big of a city, too European. Chita is, it just speaks to my soul. It's a city of second chances.
It was a love with first sight?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Very much.
Okay, and what do you like the most about our city? Maybe some place, maybe some kind of buildings.
My favorite place in Chita is Old Market.
Old Market?
Yes, and I know I get that reaction from everybody here.
Okay, okay.
It's my favorite place in all of Chita, though.
Have you bought anything there? Jeans.
And a hat. So it's changed from when I was here last time. A lot more imported clothes. Last time it's where we found most of our materials to build our tools, our equipment for fighting fire was at Old Market. All the metal and the handles for the tools and stuff like this. So it's changed a little bit, but it still has the same feeling.
Where have you stopped in Chita?
I don't know all the names.
So you rent a flat, yeah?
Yes.
It's not a hotel?
No. I was in the Chita Hotel for a couple of days. It smelled like cigarette smoke, but overall was pretty nice. It was a big, spacious room. I enjoyed that. But yes, then we found a apartment, a flat here, right off Lenina Street.
Okay.
So, near the square.
Near the square. Okay, in the very center.
Yes.
Okay.
In the heart of Chita.
Yeah. So have you visited maybe, did you go sightseeing already?
Well, between last time I was here and this time, I've been a couple of times. My friends took me up into the hills. I don't remember the name of the places that we've been to, but.
What's the most beautiful building that you saw in Chita?
Oh, goodness.
Statue of Lenin? No. Okay.
Well, the easy answer is the temple down by Chita too. Okay. But that's the easy answer. But I find the beauty in the architecture of the old buildings.
Yeah, old buildings.
And,
okay.
The colors and the architecture in there. So for me, it's more of a matter of just walking around or driving around and seeing the old buildings. That's what.
How do you think should we keep them?
Absolutely. I think that the people who are trying to turn Chita into Moscow with all these tall buildings need to leave, need to get out. There's no place for the tall buildings. I could go on for hours about the problems of having the high-rises, just from a fire and medical standpoint, the way it impacts the environment. I mean, it just, the list goes on and on and on. I think the old buildings should stay, and you should celebrate your heritage and celebrate your past and embrace what Chita is.
Would you like to live in an old building in Chita?
Absolutely. If I had the opportunity, without a question.
Okay. But you have to say we'll have to make fire like this every day, especially in winter, you know, because it's very cold here.
You say this like it's a problem.
Okay, fire. Okay, so let's speak about your job. Okay. So tell me, how have you decided to become a firefighter? How old were you, and what made you to do this decision?
It was about almost a little more than 7 years ago. Back when I was in Texas, there was a big fire about half an hour from where I live. It burned about 70,000 hectares over a couple of weeks' time on there, and there were so many people that were wanting to volunteer to help, but the government, just like the government everywhere, says, no, we have it under control, even when they don't.
And you have decided to become a volunteer?
Yes, a volunteer firefighter. I learned how to fight structure fires, building fires, and then at the same time learned about what we call wildfires. They're grass fires, forest fires. That part about learning about the wildfires just kind of took over. The structure fires kind of bored me. It's a house. It's not going anywhere. You know, you put water on it or you don't. You know, it's not like the big wildfires that, you know, you have to think about its strategy. It's, you know, it moves. It's a living thing. Structure fires, they burn or they don't. I mean.
Okay, and speaking about firefighters, is it a well-paid job in the United States?
In the U.S., 75 to 80% of the fire service is volunteer across the country. The city firefighters usually get paid pretty good. The problem in the cities...
Can you say, for example, there's some kind of average salary of...
Well, for example, from what I remember from Austin, the town I lived near, the basic firefighter, and I might be getting this confused with the police officers, but I believe the salary there is about $60,000 US per year.
6,000? 60,000 per year, okay.
For this, in different cities, different salaries. It just depends on what the city thinks about you. For example, Houston, major city in Texas, the third or fourth largest city in the U.S., just laid off over 200 firefighters because they wanted to save money in the budget. But they have this. They just approved a new budget to buy art for all the government buildings, but they laid off firefighters. So firefighter and police become a bargaining chip, become a political tool when you're in a big city, when you're getting paid for it. So it can be problematic.
Okay. And as for wildfires in the United States, what's the common reason for them?
We know that over 75% are human caused in one way or another. Sometimes it's campfires that get away. Sometimes it's people intentionally setting them, arsonists. Sometimes it's a matter of someone's driving down the road and a chain is dragging from their trailer, from their car that they're pulling, and it creates sparks and will catch the dry vegetation. But over 75% of wildfires in the U.S. are human caused.
Okay. And what about people's negligence or maybe corruption in the sphere of firefighting? Have you heard about it?
You mean in America? Or?
Yeah, in the United States. For example, they don't do their job as well.
No, all the firefighters are very dedicated in the United States. A lot of the wildland firefighters are younger men, 18 to 22 years old or so, and so it's kind of an adventure for them, so they take a lot of pride in this. There is always some discussion about the higher-ups, the administration, not doing the most that they could or favoring certain areas. There's in America, wildland firefighting, California is a what you might call a hot spot. Everybody knows that there's politics that goes into fighting fire in California. Some places get more fire protection than others simply because the rich and famous live there, and things like this. If you're what we call an R5, a Region 5 firefighter, either you love it or you hate it. There is no in between there.
Okay, and what can you say about the equipment of firefighters? Are they well equipped in the United States, and what kind of problems have you got in this case, for example?
We're definitely very well equipped, especially the people who are dedicated wildland firefighters. Volunteer fire departments are always trying to find money to buy equipment to help them, not just with wildland, but also with building fires and medical. Volunteers have their own problems, but the wildland fire services, the federal agencies and the contractors are always well equipped. The biggest problem, and this is always a controversy in America, is a thing that we call a fire shelter that we're required to carry with us. It's kind of like, well, we call it a shake and bake bag. it's a big
shake and bake bag.
Yeah, it's a joke because the shelter, it's a foil and ceramic, and if the fire is about to overrun you, you're trained to deploy your shelter. You get under your shelter. The problem is the shelter is designed to reflect radiant heat up to 90%, and the way it's used in America is direct flame impingement, meaning the fire's coming, they get under it, the fire burns over the shelter itself, and the shelter was never designed to withstand those kind of temperatures on there. And the temperatures inside these shelters often become higher than the human body can tolerate, and so you die, you bake in these things. And this is what happened. Everybody I noticed, even over here, Only the Brave, that movie about the Granite Mountain hotshots, that's what happened with them. They deployed their shelters, some of them deployed their shelters like they should have, and the fire was just too intense.
Okay. So we've got a cat here, a little kitten. Okay. So, and what can you say about Russian volunteers? Are they devoted? Are they brave, honest? Have you maybe you have got some kind of an experience of bravery or prowess or something like that? Okay. Have you struggled together with Russian firefighters, volunteers?
The mentality is different than what I'm used to from America on there. And so it's a bit of a struggle to understand the way the thinking happens here. But the volunteers that I have worked with on fires here in Russia, everywhere from when we were training on Ladoga to my last trip to Buryatia to even here, and when I was in Taldom, the volunteers that do participate are very hardworking.
Stop doing it, please. Okay.
They're very hardworking. They're absolutely you asked, are they honest? They're absolutely honest.
Have you get friends among the volunteers?
Most of my friends here in Russia are volunteer firefighters. And I really want to point out that most of the firefighters, the volunteers that I've had the experience of fighting fire with have been the women volunteers. This goes all the way from my time in Taldom when we were fighting grass fires. My partners out there were female volunteers that were right behind me with the
Okay.
that were right behind me fighting the flames. I mean, side by side with me. When I was here in Chita yesterday at the MGS seminar, when I was out there doing the practical part of showing how to do my type of firefighting, I asked for volunteers to come up and help because it's a multi-person process, and it was all female volunteers that stepped up. The men like to stand around and talk and not pay attention because they, for what reason, I don't know. I can only surmise what reason. So I think it's great that it's the females that are stepping up and wanting to participate in there. I know there's a lot of cultural issues with this and a lot of stereotypes, and so to me it's very refreshing to see, one, that there are volunteers that want to do this, and two, of those volunteers, that they're females that are wanting to come out and do this, and that just, for me, just speaks volumes.
What up, folks? How you doing? My name is Anton Jack. If you want to speak and understand English language, you need me. Call 924-373-3739 and we're gonna make a deal. I'll be waiting for you. If you want to speak English like a real homie in the hood, so just do it!
Okay, what can you say about the equipment of Russian firefighters? What are the problems? What's the problems with that?
My experience with the Russian volunteers has only been with organizations that are influenced by Greenpeace Russia and their belief and their tactics in fighting fire. So I can only speak to this. And to this, they're very, very good at peat fires or turf fires. They're probably the best experts in the world at it. Grass fires, their tactics are interesting.
But if not speaking about Greenpeace, maybe MGS or other services, are they well equipped, and does it work well? Maybe what's the most effective equipment in this way?
I can say that in Buryatia we worked with who I was told was forestry a couple of times over there. They used tools similar to ours, tactics similar to ours. When I was in Buryatia, we were going to get burned over by a fire that we were fighting, so we ended up putting fire on the ground there. We used...
Micro, no, okay.
Oh.
It's okay.
We ended up putting fire on the ground to save ourselves, which is a tactic that we would use in the U.S. We used some of the same hand tools that we used in the U.S. It was...
it's some part of entertainment today, okay.
It was really interesting to me because we were sitting in the middle of a field here in Buryatia that, you know, Middle Eastern Siberia, and a fire engine pulls up and to fight this fire, and the engine boss opens the door on the storage area and hands me a what we call a fire rake, which you guys call a gravel on there, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm 12,000 miles from home, and this man just hands me the exact tool that is my favorite tool to use and wants me to go fight fire with it, you know, and it just kind of messed with my mind for a little bit. I'm like, what are the odds, you know?
Okay, tell me please, what are your suggestions for wildfires prediction, as in Zabaikalye Krai?
What do you mean for prediction?
You mean to prevent them? Or
oh, prevention.
Prevention.
Okay. There has to be a development of fire culture in not just Zabaikalye Krai, but in all of Russia, which is a matter of teaching about the effects of fire, understanding that the tradition of agricultural burning in the fields needs to be revisited. Just because it worked 300 years ago doesn't mean it's right for today on there, but it causes the same problems. There has to be just a general public education about wildfires and what to do, when they happen, what to do to prevent them, and it would be, I think, really beneficial and make not just Zabaikalye strong, but everywhere it's done, if the villages got together and started to recruit their own volunteer firefighters. So when MGS can't get to a fire, in time, the people in the villages aren't waiting for MGS and their houses burn. They actually know what to do, how to do, have the equipment, and can go out and attack it while it's small on there.
Okay, and have you met the local authorities and maybe suggested them your...
Yesterday at the seminar, I met with just the local MGS firefighters, not their administration, and I did meet with some of the forestry administration, and the forestry administration very much wants to meet with me a couple of times while I'm here to discuss these ideas, and the local MGS asked me to do a little tour of duty, a rotation with them, a 1-week rotation with them, so I can get their experience of fighting fire here. So it's been very friendly and very cooperative, all my experience.
Okay, and would you like to meet maybe our governor?
Absolutely.
So I think that he's gonna watch this video.
Oh, yeah?
And gonna invite you as soon as possible.
Well,
okay?
that would be an honor. I think there's, I know he has a lot on his plate, as we say, a lot to do. But I think the issue of the fires, especially in South DK, and the destruction that it caused, is something that needs to be addressed. It needs to have time found to discuss it. What happened? How can it be prevented? What can we do differently to prevent this from happening again? And
so I'm sure you've got a lot of suggestions for this that you can say, for example, to governor and other authorities.
I can give them my ideas.
Ideas, yeah.
It's ideas, and the ideas are based off of my experience. It doesn't mean that it's the right ideas. It means it's a different idea than what's currently being done. And with the loss of 17 villages, it's clear that what's being done right now needs to be revisited and figure out something different on there, because 17 villages says it's not working.
Okay. And now some just common questions. Okay, so how do you think, what's the main problem in Zabaikalye Krai, about living? Because you have probably heard that a lot of people, they just move to other cities, they leave their flats here, maybe they sell them and go away to other cities, St. Petersburg, Moscow, Krasnodar, and so on. How do you think, how to stop this tendency?
The easy answer, the short answer, is also a global answer, and it's the iPhone, the technology. I've been to Germany, to Brazil, of course, America, here in Russia. I've been to all over the place, and the places that I've been, even in, for example, in Brazil, where the people earn less than they do here in Chita, they don't have working sewers in this island that I was on, and everybody had an iPhone. It's wanting something for the sake of wanting it. If you're happy with your life, if you're able just to live a simple life, then money doesn't mean as much. If you can grow your own food, if you can grow your own family, and be able to provide for yourself, that's what's important. But everybody gets caught up in, I have to have the iPhone, I have to have the Xbox, I have to have the Mercedes, or whatever the case is. And Zabaikalye Krai, as a whole, I think, does not have the right economic opportunities to be able to provide the same level of income that you could get from these other cities, as you mentioned, like Moscow, St. Petersburg, the European Russia. They don't offer the same income opportunities. And so you just have to understand that where you are means that you have limitations.
What can you do for your region?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you either have to accept it, and deal with it, or leave. But don't sit here and cry and complain about it.
Okay, okay. And you have been to many cities, yeah, all around the world, maybe. And tell me, please, such question: where have you met the most beautiful girls?
Chita,
Okay, so
by far.
by far. Okay, great. So we're gonna be proud of it. Yeah?
You should, very much.
Okay. So, and I know that you don't like questions about politics. Yeah, you have told me about it, but I'm not gonna ask you right now. What do you think of our president? What do you think of yours? Because you know, as for me, it is clear that you cannot completely, how to say, think about the domestic situation because you just see it on the surface. Yeah, but I just want to ask you only one question about this. It's some kind, not about politics. It's about some kind of attitude. Okay, so do you Americans consider Russia as an enemy? It's a just question. A lot of people want to know. Or maybe they, like it was during the Cold War.
Not like during the Cold War, but the easy answer to your question is that it's like asking a schizophrenic what they think. Because you have people in America that are dead set that Russia influenced the last elections that got Trump elected because they don't want Trump elected. So it must be Russia's fault and collusion and all this. And then you have people who are saying, okay, you've investigated it.
Do you believe in that?
No. Well, it happens all around the world. It's the pot calling the kettle black. You know, America influences elections all over the world through money, through coups, you know, all kinds of things. And so to sit there and do this and then cry foul when someone else tries to do it is just bullshit. It's the only way I know to say it.
Okay, it's the right word. Okay,
you know, you can't.
But what about, for example, TV propaganda? As for Russia, we've got very strong propaganda saying that America is our enemy and something like that. They want to, how to say that, sleep and see that we gonna, how to say, collapse or something like that. And what about America? Do you watch TV in there?
I try to avoid it because there are too many idiots on TV.
Yeah.
Especially when the news in America is no longer about the news. It's not like the old days where we had Walter Cronkite or somebody like this that would give us the news. It's now all political commentary, hidden as news. You know, they only push certain angles on stories instead of just giving you the facts. They want it to look like this or look like that, so you'll end up favoring one political side. So there's no unbiased news in America anymore, and so all you're watching is propaganda.
You shouldn't trust TV and mass media, yeah? I mean, in this part
question.
in this part of question about politics and political relationships between America and Russia.
Absolutely.
As for the American
Absolutely,
nation, are they friendly? Yeah.
For the most part, I mean, like I said, it's like asking us.
As well as Russian people, yeah.
Oh, Russians are beyond friendly. I mean, it's interesting because I grew up in America, of course, during the Cold War, the end of the Cold War, and propaganda taught us that, you know, the Russians are so cold and tough and, you know, this, that, and the other.
Grumpy.
Yeah, and my entire time here, all 3 visits so far have been the exact opposite. It's been the most welcoming, friendly people that I've ever met anywhere in the world. And it's just absolutely incredible. So,
don't trust TV
yes.
people, okay? So, and you told that you're gonna stay here till July. Mm-hmm. So, and where are you going in July?
Depending on my budget, because there's been some problems. I've been invited to go teach at an international wildland fire academy on Cyprus, Kipper.
Cyprus, yeah.
If I make it to there, that's 2 weeks there, and then I go back to Texas. I'll be back in Texas in August. If I don't have it in the budget, I'll just stay here in Chita for most of July, and then fly out to Moscow and to Texas after that.
Okay, and when you planning to come back here?
As soon as I can.
Okay.
It's dependent.
Would you like to meet the New Year's here?
That would be interesting.
Okay. And have you experienced Russian winter?
I have not.
Have not
And
yet.
again, there's some preconceived notions in America. Dr. Zhivago is, what you think of when you think Russian winters.
I know what you're talking about.
So, but it's part of, like it or not, it's part of Russian culture. And I think it would be something interesting to experience. So I would enjoy it. But again, it's up to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and if they'll approve my visa to return or not.
Do you consider yourself a citizen of Chita?
I would like the honor to be called a citizen of Chita, but I've only been here twice. I cannot lay claim to that.
And would you like to receive Russian citizenship and to stay here for life?
Yes, Chita is my home.
Okay. So he's more patriot than anywhere else in this room, I suppose. Okay, great, great. And what would you say to the local citizens of Zabaikalye Krai and maybe your wishes and advice why they shouldn't move and stay here and to go on living here? What would you say? Just your advice.
Well, what would I say to them is...
And also concern to wildfires and...
Okay. Be proud of your history. Be proud of where you've come from, what your ancestors have built. You may look at it and say it's not much, but it's a lot better than it was when they got here. So you should always be proud of where you come from, never ashamed of it. And the only way to create a better future, is to get out there and do it yourself. And get off your butts, quit complaining, quit drinking, get out and do the hard work. You don't like the way the roads are, get out and grab a shovel and fix the roads. You want more food, get out, plant the food. Get out, do it yourself. Be the change that you want to see.
Be the change you want to see. Okay,
And
Kitty, come on.
As far as the wildfires go, my plan is to open an academy here in Chita, Fire and Rescue, to teach about wildfires and some basic medical and rescue techniques that within the limits of Russian law. And the idea is to target the volunteers in these small villages to come out so they can learn, they can get some basic knowledge so they're able to help themselves instead of wait for MGS that may be 2-3 days away and you have a fire burning towards you, or what happens when somebody has, breaks their leg or breaks their arm or has a heart attack or something like this, and your ambulance service, is what, an hour, 2, 3, 4 hours, or a day away, or whatever, to the nearest hospital. You need to know how to help yourself and quit waiting around for help. And so, I encourage the people of Zabaikalye Krai to pay attention to the academy that we're building, and when it comes online, the courses are free of charge, and to come in and learn some basic information.
You're going to manage it.
Yes. Yes, and it's very important to note that we will have instructors from around the world, so it's not just American ideas, American thinking getting presented. We have instructors already have agreed from Canada, from Poland, and several other countries, Germany, to come in and help teach as well. And to me, it's very important that it's not just an American idea that's getting shoved down the throats of people who want to come learn. You get a chance to learn many different ideas and ways of thinking.
Okay. Thank you very much, Paul. Wish you good luck.
Thank you.
Once more, happy birthday.
Thank you.
So, thank you very much. Okay, that's all. Peace.